If we're gonna set up a receiving station, maybe we need to set up a full duplex or a half duplex kind of transmitter and receiver, so to provide a source.
I agree, but you got to plan now. It's only a year and a half away.
Well, we're planning, aren't we?
Okay, then start taking notes and start looking for money.
Yeah, I'm not sure how feasible the along path route would be, but I will say we do have some Grape stations over here already.
It looks like then you need a friendly ham in Alaska to run the transmitter.
No,
Alaska?
I got contacts in Alaska.
Okay.
Would that be a good candidate for one of the Whisper sounds and be transmitting on Whisper on 8 bands?
Whisper is too long a time frame for it. The moon's shadow has come and gone by the time a Whisper frame is done.
What does the time look like, Dave?
Well, you get a couple of minutes in any spot along totality. So we did well using CHU as a radar signal. You get a pulse per second. And something along those lines is what I would first recommend here.
How about the Russian time stations? I can't tell where they are from this map.
They're outside of Moscow.
They might not be too far off for
Stuff.
something in Canada.
It looks like Path of Totality is either going over or really very close to the European Space Agency headquarters near Madrid. I've got a lot of contacts there if you want me to look into that. Have everything in the world there, radio telescopes and all kinds of things.
Yeah, the problem there is the station's in totality. You need somebody else downstream to talk to. The totality itself doesn't help that much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dave, are we looking for stations along the path of totality or looking at a path across, or probably
It's two different experiments. You're correct. What we ran at Case for the April eclipse and then again for the October was along path measurements. And we got some extraordinary results. I think it'd be interesting to do that again, but it's not the only approach. Most of what Hamsai did was a cross path.
That's all.
Actually, all the rest of what Hamsai did was a cross path.
Yes, and we will get a little bit of that, assuming that that the England and Netherlands stations are still running in 1.5 years. So
now, go ahead.
Oh.
I was going to ask Dave how long a path he was looking for along the path. I mean, 100 miles, 1,000 miles.
Well, I don't have an answer for that. You take what you can get. We used CHU as our station of opportunity and ran it down to Austin, Texas in April. In October, it was WWVH to Patagonia, so that was a much longer path. There just wasn't anywhere to put a receiver any closer except Easter Island, and we didn't have enough lead time to see if any of the Easter Island eclipse tourists could do that. But we did get a station in Patagonia and another in Falkland Islands for the October eclipse. That was a long path to WWVH.
You know, the path along the eclipse from maybe Spain to Iceland or Greenland.
Yeah, somewhere in there. That's right.
It does it, maybe you'd like to look both ways, but you were just looking from, I'll say, north to south with the CHU path, I believe, because
Yes,
he was just monitoring CHU,
yes.
but I was thinking maybe if we put a station at each end, it could transmit and receive
You could do,
different frequency, maybe.
run some FT4 USOs, which are very quick. Like 7 seconds each.
Yes.
And I do have contact partners in Portugal and Spain and Germany, so.
No, you want to set up on the south shore of Greenland to ping back and forth with them?
Well, you could ping between Portugal and Germany too.
I don't think that's going to have you along the path of the eclipse.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I can't tell from this
Why?
map,
I mean,
but flip Iceland as well.
Iceland's on the edge. The south shore of Greenland is more optimal, but yes, the west coast of Iceland would probably do it.
Yeah, but Iceland is how should I say, a little bit more hospitable.
All true.
Well, Iceland is probably a much nicer place than Greenland. At
All
least,
true.
at least it's got more infrastructure.
well, let me show you something on, let me show this map I have here. This is what I'm talking about here. If you have somebody in Portugal and somebody over here, you could run it through the middle of, I mean, are we wanting the center point of the signal to be right in the totality, or what are we?
Yeah, that's one way of running the experiment. So that's the across path experiment. And you'll have to make some good choices of ham band to have something that will be affected on that distance, that you'll have an appropriate one hop signal from those points. But yes, that is apt.
Yeah, deeply unfortunately, it looks like the research station that's already out there is just off the side of totality. Although there are some towns over here.
So anyway, just saying, it'd be a shame to let this one go. Got a year and a half to plan and get funding in place.
Well, I suspect that since we've got a lot of cross data from the normal Grape stations, that this a long path is probably maybe a priority.
I suppose that depends on how much Maris wants to travel.
That's right. Yeah, we've talked about it already. And yeah, if Hamsai will figure out how to pay for it, my guess is he'll go. He had a great time in Patagonia.
Thule Air Force Base in Greenland is on that west coast. It's not in totality, but it would give you a nice long path to Europe.
Let's see, that's interesting.
Yeah, Greenland's in the process of expanding their airport too. They're looking to drum up more tourist business, so eclipse tourism should be on their radar.
Yeah,
you-
west coast of Greenland's probably going to be too far off the path. But that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's a friendly spot that would be more than happy to help, and the guys that go up there have nothing else to do.
Well, if one of them can travel east to set up station, that's nice. But from the point of the base, I'm not sure it's going to be that helpful.
There's lots of commercial flight, of course, to Iceland, which probably makes it cheaper to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map where the base is. That's interesting. Yeah, it doesn't strike me as being well positioned for this.
Right. Well, and
Iceland is,
even the scientific camps that are already on like the main ice sheets in Iceland, I think, are just off of totality. But or Greenland, sorry.
Hmm.
But Iceland is much more hospitable and actually has like a city over there. So, I mean, they might not get the full. They might not be on the full path.
Well,
Like just
I thought,
sorry, I had to jump out. I just had a new snowblower delivered,
Congratulations.
replacing my 60-year-old Simplicity. But yeah, so I don't know. Did you were you talking about places in Greenland?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, because I'll bet there are some villages there we might be able to get someone to.
Yeah.
I know Western Greenland. I don't know Eastern offhand.
Let's see.
Of course, Western Greenland, point being there is that you'd be in line maybe with, well, no, it's an interesting path.
Yeah, I'm looking at maps here. There are
And Japanese or Chinese time station help any?
I don't know offhand. I haven't looked.
Yeah.
There are a couple of settlements in appropriate places, but boy, these are going to be fly-spec towns. I'm zooming in on Google Maps to see what the towns look like. There is not much there.
where are you looking?
Southern Greenland.
Oh,
And there's some named towns, but I don't see anything in the satellite views.
Well, Southern Greenland, Nuuk is the capital, but it's over on the western part of Southern.
Yeah, I'm looking in the area that's eclipse appropriate.
what,
Right.
This is going to be an adventure trip. Maybe we can ship Morris.
what
I think it would probably
magnitude,
be insane to put him in Iceland.
Any random islands in the path?
Yeah, let's see.
Send out a de-expedition expedition?
well, you might as well
I mean, there's fair.
ask for both. If you're gonna go.
Well, that's a good point.
I was going to ask, Dave, what order of magnitude of beacon do we need? 100 watts, 1,000 watts, 10 watts?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't have an immediate answer. I have been
One-
pondering this problem, and I appreciate that you're asking me these things. My guess is a 100-watt amateur station appropriately set up and tested and
Vertical
with an,
antenna?
with an appropriate beacon code on it. It certainly would be nice if it had a directional antenna pointing along the path where the receiver is. Otherwise, half your signal is going where the receiver isn't. You know, it may be that a 100-watt, 20-meter transmitter with a tribander.
Are we
Well, for beacon, Rob can
high band?
chime in on how much power it needs. Probably 1 watt would be plenty for beaconing.
You only get one chance here, so I don't think you want to send a 1-watt station.
Well, you can always turn the 100 watts down.
I think you leave it up.
Well, no, but I was just making the,
You know, if you have 2 weeks lead time to do testing, maybe. Otherwise, you take as much power as you can carry with you. You only get to
Well-
do this once.
Yeah.
the 500 kilowatt or kilowatt amplifiers aren't that heavy anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot to backpack.
Yeah. What frequencies are we thinking? High band, kind of like 20, 15?
So that's an interesting question. The
Or-
CHU experiment, we had the the three frequencies of CHU, which are across 2 octaves of frequency, and we added 10 meters to that. So we gave another octave. And the data really were interesting, and it was very helpful to have that geometric span of frequencies. If you can only have one in this setting, then what do you choose? My guess is it's somewhere around 10 to 15 megahertz, but I can't answer that offhand. If you have a higher
Okay.
frequency, the antennas are easier, directional antennas are easier.
Yeah,
But
Glenn got his best data from 80 through 30 on the eclipse, the partial ellipse last October. So that
One
was
thing
most
I'll
useful.
point out, David, is that Rob does have a beacon up in Ellesmere Island.
Yes,
You
it's,
can find paths that'll cross the eclipse from Ellesmere to Europe.
yeah.
Well,
In fact, if you guys start looking, we've just turned on a 4W beacon at Ellesmere last weekend, and it's transmitting on uh, 30 through 10 meters. But right now, the only 30 meters propagation only seems to support 30 meters. The only
beacon here meaning whisper.
It's FST4W, you know, that flavor of Whisper. We didn't want, there is an existing Zactec Whisper beacon projects has a Zactec 200 milliwatt beacon up there that they've been running, but nobody hears it. This one we just brought up is one of the Whisper Sons, and it's 1 watt output. Well, we could do every band, but the antenna is limits us right now. The antenna that Pierre just put up last weekend is a 30 fan dipole that supports 30, 20, 15, and 10 meter transmissions. So that whisper sound is currently simultaneously transmitting on all 4 bands every whisper cycle, but it's 4W mode. So only stations, mostly Whisper Demon receive sites are the only ones reporting it. We didn't want to interfere with the Whispered Beacon network's use up there, so we didn't want to transmit Whisper 2 packets because they would have been interfered with the
Right. So,
Whisper
but for the
Beacon.
eclipse, I don't think this is what we're after. If there's going to be a for real HAMSci effort or a university research effort, it's not going to be this. It's got to be enough power that the signal is reliable. It's got to be short enough frames that it matters in the eclipse.
Geez,
There are
David,
a bunch of things there. I don't think 1 watt whisper
yeah,
is what you're
really.
after.
Okay.
Well, we got a lot of great data out of the 1 watt whispers from the last 2
Yeah.
eclipses. So I don't, I don't think that I mean, sure, more power is better.
It's a nice side thing, but if there's going to be an effort created over the next year and a half, my view is it's not going to be that.
Yes, but a year and a
It's
half
not-
is a lot of time to get things together.
It's
So
hard, but
Well,
I don't think anybody has a
re-
high power multi-band transmitter though. So that's my point is if you
Well-
center yourself on one frequency because you have a 100-watt transmitter, you're going to miss other things. You know that there's a trade-off between high power and multiple bands, and that's
well,
anyway.
it might be worth, instead of trying to get another long path measurement, it might be worth just buckling down and trying to get more Grape stations that can hear CHU in that leg of Europe, because we already have stations on the other end of the line.
Well, Rob, do you have information about, well, I mean, it might be over time because it's only just been up there, but its coverage into Europe?
I don't, we just have really a couple of days since we've had the fan dipole on.
Right. But I mean, we might get some new, yeah, keep an eye on it. The whole point is with narrow bandwidth, you don't need a lot of power. The other place I'll mention is that we do have connections to Iqaluit on Baffin Island, where a beacon could be placed potentially.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the ones on Ellesmere's there, and the other thought I had is that the German DP0 ship frequently makes trips up to the Arctic during the summer, and they've been up near the North Pole on this last summer, and you might contact the German Radio Club that runs that. Or I can talk to Michael Hartje, who runs that, Professor Hartje from University of Bremen, and I think he's the one who equips that ship, and that would be there you'd have a very reliable and science-oriented group operating the thing, and it might be right in the path of the eclipse. I mean, they plan this is the ship that goes up to the Arctic in the summer. In the Arctic summer, it's up there, and in the Antarctic summer, it goes south to Antarctica. So the ship you can track it, you can see it, broadcasting almost all the time, and they might be right in the path, right up there, right up, in the path up north of Greenland, in the summer of 25 or 26. Is that right? 26? Anyway, that's they might be your best candidate for a transmit and well, you can't receive very well if you're transmitting 100 watts. You definitely deafen your receivers. At one of the at 1 watt, you could actually listen while you transmit. So as long as the antennas are.
We transmit and receive on the same beam on 3 bands, so
I mean, this is at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, so the whisper sound and all of I mean you want to be transmitting all the time, or because the eclipses are so short, you don't want to be if you're doing band scanning, and you have a 2-minute long eclipse, you're only going to have transmissions at on one band during the totality.
Well, I put together a triplexer that lets three 100-watt transmitters on 15, 10, and 20 meters.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Well, that's what the whisper sound does. It has a 8-band diplexer that combines the signals, but this is transmitting and receiving at the same time. Oh,
what do you do on field day, Bob?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you have to have your receive antenna can't be listening on the same antenna that you're transmitting 100 watts.
Sure can.
Well, okay. I mean, yes, everything is possible, but you got to have a tuned resonators and all kinds of stuff to get that kind of.
Well, there's a lot more than 2 resonators.
Yeah. I know it's possible, but we haven't done that. But as it turns, in several sites, we've had whisper sound transmitters with their antenna, tens of meters away from the receive antenna. And if the transmitter is clean enough, and it's transmitters, okay, sidebands are low enough, then you can hear other receive stations. But the whisper bands are only 200 hertz wide, so it's unlike field day. You can't be tens of kilohertz or 100 kilohertz apart, and depend upon the filters to.
Well.
So anyway. I think the more salient point right here is that I think that the Germans might be the best candidate. That ship might be the best candidate to be up there, and for that eclipse. And is there a page? Did I miss a page where where you guys described that eclipse? Because I'll forward it to Michael and see if he knows if the ship's going to be up there.
We have a picture in the minutes.
Okay.
Now, David, is your primary interest to try to get signals going along the path of the eclipse?
Well, to the extent that we at Case have done that twice already, it would be nice to have another similar experiment. But that's not what Hamsai did on the last round.
Right, because I will also point out that the Russian time signal is in Moscow, and we do receive it here, and that will cross the path of the eclipse.
Yeah, so that is an interesting opportunity. You're right.
It's real regular on 10 megahertz here.
Yes.
I,
9.996 to be exact.
I typically have a speaker on one of the radios, one of the
Okay.
girls.
Good.
And this will be very interesting, and given that it's going across the pole, polar
Yeah,
propagation is quite different.
I am reluctant to volunteer to head up a new committee, but again, it's only a year and a half distance, and much of what we're talking about needs money. So getting grants in place and getting plans in place starting now is appropriate.
This isn't a matter of volunteering. You get appointed.
Thanks.
Yeah, I vote for Dave.
Not today. Let's talk to others involved. The eclipse effort in April was really large for a volunteer group. So let's see what level of interest there is for this. And let's see how AGU goes. That's where my crew is presenting the data for the first time next week.
Well, they need a footnote. 2026 is coming.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about that?
This has been interesting.
Yeah, I will say for like our long path stuff, the RX888 network is growing quite a bit, and I think it will be, hopefully by then we'll see even more stations in Europe and things, so we might still be able to get useful stuff still listening to something like CHU.
Yeah, the Ham Side newsletter had a little blurb about, hey, we're interested in expanding into Europe a bit. And we've already gotten a few email responses here and there from Europe, so maybe we can drum up some more activity over there.
Yes. Okay. I don't think John or Kung are around. Neither is Dr. Frizzell. Bill, any updates?
Just one quick one. My student who is working on this has informed me he has something ready to go that should allow me to go through and create on the personal space for the station network server all of the user IDs for the Grape 1 legacy stations, that is the ones running FL Digi and Grape 2, and so as to be able to start importing data for that. It will be a little while before we get that into production, but I have been told that it's ready to go. We'll know for sure on that by the end of this week. So back to Nick.
Very nice. All right. Any updates from Rob? Either on the antenna project or Whisper?
I'm sorry, it's the antenna. Antenna project. No, there are still some refinements going on. Elmer N3 AGEC is working with Glenn on that, and there's refining. They're debugging the installation. So, I think. I do think we'll probably get something that we could put up, send to Michael after the first of the year. I think there'll be a version. So I think, given if we're not going to ship equipment next summer, I do think it's still a reasonable candidate
Does
for
he
it.
have PC boards, Rob? That we could, if we wanted to, could assemble ourselves?
Uh, you're talking about the antenna boards?
Yeah.
Well, you can go to Glenn's website and order them from JLPCB.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay, so he's published it. I just caution you that that he is still making some
Oh, I
some
understand
changes.
that. Hey,
Yeah.
that's
So
the whole point.
Elmer has 5 of them there's the shack board. Glenn has revised the shack board to eliminate the use of a transformer, and uses uh, a differential amplifier, and that version is what's been published. And Elmer is, I think, or I'm not sure he has those yet. Um, and they dramatically, using a differential amplifier instead of a transformer, not only extends the frequency response down lower, but more importantly, it dramatically increases the common mode rejection ratios.
Yeah, excellent.
And so Elmer has a very compromised QTH. His home is surrounded by nearby homes and noise sources, and the differential amplifier is and the ability to reject common mode induced RFI is one of the major features of this antenna system. So the active shack board is probably desirable, and that's a reason to probably wait a little bit until Elmer gets a chance to try it out in the next few weeks. So I think it's probably best to hang on a bit before getting involved. And um, did you contact Glenn about being at one of his alpha beta sites, because that's the best way to get an early and well tested version of the antenna system.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'm on the list.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing we discovered in this about is the 888. Clint just investigated the 888, and we didn't realize how horribly impaired its low frequency response is. Below 500 kilohertz, it's just terrible, and that impairment is due to the bias T transformer that they use, or not the transformer, but the bias T inductor.
Yeah,
they
that
use.
inductor is critical there.
That inductor is way too small, and the best thing to do is just get rid of it. I mean, you don't want to use the 888 to feed an LNA in any case. I mean, it can't put out enough current. So
Has someone documented which component that is?
yes, in fact, well, no, we do not have a schematic of the 888.
No, but
Hold on. But
no, but I
Clint,
mean, which piece on the board, if we remove it, we take that off.
Yes. Let me. Clint just published one of his blog entries with the details of performance and how to remove that, with a picture and everything about it. And if I can dig up his, I have it right. I think it's right here. Let's see if it's this window. No, wrong. Someplace here, if I look back, I'll find his Clint's recent blog entry, and I'll send it to you. Is there a mailing list for this group that does this go to the regular ham site group? If I send it to that, will everybody get it?
You can send it to Hamsite Grape.
Okay. Well, let me dig it up in another window, and I'll send an email out. And I'll post it up in the chat. But with the inductor removed, the response goes down reasonably well, down to something, I think it's like about 20 kilohertz. But to improve the response below that, really you got to remove. There's a transformer in the path, and that transformer then is what limits the low frequency response. In contrast, the Kiwi does not have a transformer in its path, and so its response goes way down. It goes down to kilohertz or less, and we can see that Glenn's antenna has a good response down at a kilohertz because the Kiwi shows us that. The 888 doesn't. So it hasn't been an issue for existing 888 installations, but none of them are really depending. Well, I have one site that depends upon is trying to use the 888 at 2,200 meters, but anyway, it's a small issue, really. But one
Okay.
more reason for having our own, Clementine, or what we're calling it, SDR, something. We really, we keep unfolding more reasons, impairments and frailties in the 888 design.
Yeah, I guess we're waiting for the proper max component to move ahead on that so we can do multi-channel.
I guess so, yeah. That's my
Yeah.
understanding.
The USB interface. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can start working with that soon.
Let's see. I'm looking for.
Yeah, Rachel, and then low frequency performance,
That's fair.
where it says improve performance to make sure.
Yeah, did you find that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I suggested that Clint put a search button that at the top of his pages so you can do a Google search. He has so many he tries to do one blog entry a month, and there a whole wealth of information in his about all kinds of subjects there. But I find it hard to find things when I quickly when I look for it. But,
Okay.
do you want to share that with the group, David? Is that the? Oh,
Hey, Rachel, I've got one update for the minutes too.
I was just about to ask you.
Up in section 5, the Whisper Grape section, I think it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rob had asked for a document, kind of a overarching document explaining about Hamside, who we are, what we're trying to achieve with some of these projects. And I wrote that up yesterday. I didn't do most of the writing. I found most of the material I needed either in grant applications or on the website. So I put all that together. Rob, if you could skim that over and let me know if I'm going in the right direction. And then Jim has offered to help me with the editing and taking a look at it too. So that's in process.
thank you. I did see it. I've just been buried in there's in software work on the Whisper Demon software. We've
No
had
problem. No problem.
we have a new web interface into the RX 888 that's significantly better than what we've previously included. It's not the Kiwi user interface, but it's much better. Scott, I don't think he's part of here, and N5 TNL, who's part of the Whisper Demon group, has invested considerable time in working on that, and he deserves a lot of thanks and credit. So any of you who have Whisper 888s running with Whisper Demon, you should soon be able to do git pull and run this new software, this new interface, and get a much better view of what your receive system performance looks like. But I just found a bug in the installer, so I have to fix it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a couple of questions for Bill Engelke.
Sure.
On the central control system, is it the map size is basically fixed? You can zoom in, but you can't expand the map. Is there some reason for that?
Well, I'd say it's probably a question of having the technical expertise to actually pull that off. I don't know.
Okay, well,
With any of these things, there's always this trade-off between, it's a struggle figuring out what's most important to work on.
yeah.
So,
Well, the other question I have about the map is the retired stations. the gray and the green are close when they're stacked up. Is it either possible to change a shape on those? Or is a push pin the only option?
Oh, that's probably possible.
Okay, well, just a thought.
I'll
The
put
one
that
other
down
thing I
for-
want to mention, because I've been keeping track, my original Grape FL Digi system's been up for 704 days. Nonstop.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's very good. That might be the most longevity of any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to contact the folks at Guinness, well,
Yeah, yeah.
and not the beer people, the book people.
I assume the map is just an approximation because my station shows up in West Virginia, about 100 miles west of here.
No, it should be closer than that.
My station shows up in the wrong place sometimes too.
Sometimes. It shouldn't move.
Well, yeah, I guess it's always been a little bit further to the east than it should be, I think.
Yeah,
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it taking
well,
it off a zip code or what's it using as a
it
data?
uses whatever you put in as your grid.
Huh.
So if
Yeah.
you can get it pretty accurate if you use a 6-character grid when you create the station.
I better go look and see what I put in.
So it's not using the longitude and latitude though, right?
Well, the grid gets converted to lat long and then it uses
Yeah.
lat long in the map.
Okay, but it's not is that the latitude and longitude that's stored with the metadata?
Should be. I say it should be. It depends on, I mean, if you put a different lat long in, well, it
Yes.
depends, if you're using a Grape 1 DRF and you put a different lat long in for, in GNU radio, it will carry that into the metadata. It doesn't use your station's lat long, it uses whatever because you could have a station with a rover or something. I mean, the original design there was an Adafruit GPS that was going to feed that in real time, so you could know for sure the location of the station, but that kind of, due to complexity, I think that kind of fell out of the final design.
Yeah, and I think the question on the map is that it used to be bigger and it's recently become a strip bar. I think that
Yeah,
question.
I see that. That's not supposed to be the case.
So
I'm
it
sure.
hasn't always been like,
Right. Let me look into that. It shouldn't be that small.
Bill, I think we fixed your stutters, the missing 1 hour stuff. I haven't checked yours, but
Yes, it is fixed. Thank you.
okay, thank you for alerting us to that because there was a kind of bug in K9Q that you led us to uncover. So, and I think Michael has updated his, which were the only other sites that were suffering from that problem. By the way, I just posted up the link to Clint's blog entry about the 888 frequency response and getting rid of the. There is one other topic that maybe of some tangential interest. I don't know if how many of you know Michael Neruda and AA8K. I just learned yesterday that he has passed away, and I think many of us had wondered about his absence from our. He had been a fairly regular attendee, so I didn't know him well. We had several conversations, but he seemed like an extremely nice person. And he did install and operate one of the Whisper songs. And in fact, it's still on the air and transmitting. So I think there was a dialogue with Nathaniel and Gary about seeing if anyone could contact his family because I could not log into his Whisper song remotely anymore and disable it. So it's transmitting. I mean, it's putting out, you know, wonderfully and useful signals, but I don't think it's appropriate for it to be in operation. We need maybe find another home for it if one of you would like to host it.
Rob, was that your equipment? Who owned that equipment?
It's Paul
Okay.
Paul Elliott kind of lent it to him long term. It's I think a
Yeah.
first generation Whisper Sonda 6-channel one. And it was working extremely well. Now, what led us to look into it is that we're uncovering, there's a lot of my last week, hours and hours and hours, has been investigating problems with false decodes appearing in the Whisper net database. And we're seeing quite a few more false decodes, to the extent that it's a little worrisome about this, you know, impairing the scientific usefulness of the Whisper database to have so many false decodes. These are stations that don't exist. Sometimes, you know, they're kind of potentially valid call signs, but at absurd geographic locations. And it appears that Michael's 4W transmitter was stimulating those false decodes. Not that it had a problem. It transmits perfectly well, but it appears that there's a vulnerability that that Whisper decoding is maybe subject to falsely decoding. A Whisper 2 decoder may falsely decode a 4W signal as one of these false decodes. So Michael is, you know, transmitter was in continuous operation, and it was the source. Well, it wasn't immediately obvious, but it appears like it may be the source of many of these, simulating many of these false decodes that we're seeing in the Whispered net database. So it's one of the reasons why I'd like to get the decodes, you know, get his transmitter off the air, so we have control and minimize the number of false decodes. But it's become a whole subject of investigation now. We need to figure out how to deal with this. The 4W transmissions are far more useful for radio science than our Whisper 2 transmissions. So it's we may need to go talk to Joe Taylor and the group about maybe defining a separate band for 4W beacons to operate in. If there's if the Whisper 2 decoder is inevitably sensitive to decoding 4Ws, then they can't be in the same operating in the same frequency band. Right now that we've been using the same band for both Whisper and 4W transmissions, but that anyway, it's an active subject. We have I have several people in my Whisper Demon group looking into this problem, but that was what led us to learn that Michael was no longer with us.
Yeah, his last Grape 2 upload was November 11th, about 2 weeks after he passed away. So perhaps he lost internet connection or something. That's why you can't reach it. But anyhow, we'll try and find his family.
Okay.
What was the last name again?
Naruta, Naruta.
Oh,
Alpha 8 kilo.
yeah.
That's it.
Right.
Dave Larson said he's been working with Tapper and him on similar telecons since 2007. So they go back a long way.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I got to run. 73. I'll have a great holiday if we don't see y'all before the end of the year. Holidays.
See him.
Take care.
73.
73.